Okay, there's one thing I want to make clear. I don't hate you, and I don't hate what you represent. In all honesty, you are opening the eyes of many young people about the class inequality in the world, and with a great female protagonist that crosses the gender gap. There is so much to like, but it always feels like you miss some tiny details here and there that can take a pretty good story into a great story. I'm bringing this all up because I'm going to say some things. Things that people may not like, that you won't like, but know that I have your best interests at heart. I don't hate you. I like you, but I don't like you. We good? I'm giving prep talks to books now. I swear this show is starting to drive me crazy. What do you think, Harvey the Giant Talking Rabbit? Thanks. You always know what to say. Let's see how many fangirls I piss off. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, my name is David Popovich, aka the Bookworm, and welcome to Bookworm Reviews. Sit back and relax as we dive into Catching Fire, the second of the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. Alright, we're going to be spoiling the Hunger Games. If you want to know what my thoughts were about it, click here. Then again, this is one of the biggest things in pop culture right now, so I doubt there's much left to spoil. Cliff notes of my thoughts for the Hunger Games. It's decent, Katniss is a great character, world building sucks to all hell. Cliff notes for Catching Fire, it's overall better, Katniss is given some great character development. The romance and world building... Well, Katniss survives the 74th Hunger Games with fellow tribute Peeta, marking the only year 2 tributes won at the Games. How? During the Games, Katniss and Peeta were pretending they were star-crossed lovers, using the angle to manipulate people to support them. When they were the final 2 left, they threatened to kill each other so no one would win, forcing the Capitol to compromise. But it turns out that Peeta actually is in love with Katniss, but when she reveals it was all an act for her, he basically pushes her away when the cameras are off. Now rich and famous, Katniss is trying to move on. If it were up to me, I would try to forget the Hunger Games entirely, never speak of them, pretend they were nothing but a bad dream. But the Victory Tour makes that impossible. The Victory Tour is where Katniss will be paraded around the 12 districts to keep the wounds of the Games fresh. Cause apparently there is nothing else to watch in Pan Am but the Games, which means she's going to have to be in love with Peeta again. Awkward. However, before the tour, President Snow visits her. He tells her that her little act with the berries has sparked something within the districts. If a girl from District 12 of all places can defy the Capitol and walk away unharmed, what is to stop them from doing the same, he says. Several districts have interpreted this as a sign of rebellion, that it's time to overthrow the Capitol. All I was doing was trying to keep Peeta and myself alive. Any act of rebellion was purely coincidental. Of course Snow doesn't care what Katniss's real intentions were. All that matters is that the conformist system of Pan Am is in jeopardy. He can't just kill her because it would only add coal to the fire. The only way to end it is to prove that Katniss is not a rebel. I'll convince everyone in the districts that I wasn't defying the Capitol, that I was crazy with love, I say. If she doesn't, then accidents can happen to her family and friends, including Gale. No, not Gale! Anyone but Gale! Wait, who the hell was Gale? And that's the problem with Catching Fire. Gale. Real talk. Who even remember who Gale was from the first book, let alone the movie? Unless you remember anything they briefly say to each other in the first part of the first book, you forget his importance to the story. Now the book does rectify that with beefing up his character more, having him interact with Katniss, adding to the plot, and so on. But it still leads to one of the little problems with Catching Fire. The forced love triangle. One of the things I love from Hunger Games is that the star-crossed lover angle used in the games was in essence a meta-plot about how the romance in most YA stories don't actually add anything to what really matters. Like kids being killed for entertainment so a rich white guy can show how powerful he is. It felt different, fresh and moving away from what Twilight forced every other YA author to do to sell copies. Enter Catching Fire, where now Katniss is dealing with her feelings for Peeta, which is fine. It works. It brings an important element to the story about what is Peeta to Katniss. A fellow survivor? A friend? Maybe something more? Just the sound of his voice twists my stomach into a knot of unpleasant emotions like guilt, sadness, and fear, and longing. I might as well admit there's some of that too. But then you add Gale into the mix and suddenly, I will never have a life with Gale, even if I want to. I will never be allowed to live alone. I will have to be forever in love with Peeta. It's Twilight all over again, which can and will make the first half of the book a grind to read. Sure, we're looking at a young teenage girl dealing with post-traumatic stress as she's forced to parade herself for an oppressive government that represents the haves and have-nots, but which guy should she be with, guys? The hot blonde one or the hot non-blonde one? These are serial questions, y'all! And then there's the world building. I'd have to say it, the series kind of sucks at its world building. Now to be fair, this book showcases more of how the districts are oppressed and hits home with the wealth gap allegory when Katniss and Peeta are back at the capital at the end of the tour. But as I kept reading, I couldn't help but ask several questions about this world. The least of which is, what the hell do all the 12 districts do? Seriously, 2 books in and I barely even know half of them, even though you had the perfect opportunity to explore it. And second, how did this all happen? Really, what happened in the old world of North America that we would fall into disarray and follow metaphorical Hitler? Let alone how Snow became the leader or frankly anything about the history of Pan Am. We are given little nuggets like the Dark Days and how the rebellion of District 13 would lead to the Hunger Games. But that's it. We know nothing else about this land. Yeah, I know, existing knowledge would be propaganda, a lot of the information would be erased, and somehow explaining it all would bring the story to a complete halt within the frame of Katniss's POV, but it's moments like these that keep me from getting truly invested with the story. And let's be clear here, if you didn't already rage click me for trashing Catching Fire so far. I like this book a lot. I think it's better than the first. It's the next step in Katniss's evolution from just a young girl trying to protect her sister to becoming a symbol of the rebellion and whether or not she is that symbol. It's why people really love Katniss. She's a classic example of a reluctant hero because when you think about it, Katniss is not a classically good person. I'm selfish. I'm a coward. I'm the kind of girl who, when she might actually be of use, would run to stay alive and leave those who couldn't follow to suffer and die. No wonder I won the games. No decent person ever does. Which builds her internal struggle along with her PTSD with her external when after failing to quell the rebellion to go back into the games for the special quarter quell against fellow victors, which shows how the book is able to up the stakes in all aspects. Remember, you're not in a ring full of trembling children anymore. These people are all experienced killers, no matter what shape they appear to be in. That's what makes this series such a frustration for me. I love Katniss's arc and the stakes at play, but it always seems to hold itself back on stupid tropes or vague world building. Oh, and the ending is a bit of a letdown. I was shocked that the climax has happened, and I didn't realize it till it was over, only to have it end on a shocking plot twist. Kinda left a bad taste afterwards. At its core, Catching Fire is good, but there are some tiny pieces that if it took the time, could have made it great. I still recommend it, flaws and all. I just wish it had more. What about you, Internet? What's your opinion about Catching Fire? A special shout out to Casper Richter for suggesting the book. Thank you for your support. If you have a book you would like me to review, let me know in the comments below. The Hunger Games trilogy is the modern look at dystopia. But next week, we're looking at the classic that would define dystopia. Till next time, have a nice day.